Hello, this is Fritz-Ay says, and welcome back to Eden's Reach. So we just joined Midnight Sun in their fight against Eden Corp, and we just entered the training hall. Let's get started.
Hey Miles, glad to see you're done with the tour.
Yeah, it went by pretty quickly. Holy shit, I gotta admit, I'm not just nervous because it's Oswald. Those biceps. His suit was hiding all that muscle? Sure, his pecs were poking out, but there was enough suspension of disbelief that it wasn't just muscle, but he toned all over. No! I composed myself. But then Max isn't all that bad either. Now, stay focused. Just watch and learn from their form. It was pretty nice watching them fight. They looked like professionals out there, and they were so stoic and hyper-focused on each other. Their bodies, though, all tensed up and sweaty. Why did this mood have to strike now? Damn you, my inconsistent sleep routine.
Are you gonna stay and watch? It won't be for long though, because I'm about to whoop this guy's ass.
Hey, don't count your victories if you haven't even won them yet. I've still got some fight left in me and then some.
His gaze drills into me as he says that last part.
Oh, prove it then.
Max lets out a huff, tugging on his vest a bit. I attentively watch as he... Oh no, he's taking his vest off. Oh god, not now. Okay, remind yourself that he's an asshole. Remind yourself that he hasn't been nice to you at all, and that he's taking off his shirt. Ugh. I quietly exclaim as I quickly block my face with my paws. Max doesn't notice though, his focus completely on Oswald. The wolf, on the other hand...
Show off.
I take a peek through the gaps in my fingers, and oh no, is that Oswald's back? Oh, please don't turn around. Please don't turn around. Wait, was that a piece of clothing? I lower my hands to see what's definitely Oswald's crumpled up clothes in front of me, drenched in sweat. I try to resist with all my goddamn might, being a pervert in front of them. Oh god, how does Dylan even manage to stay flaccid with his coworkers like this?
Ready?
Huh. I attempt to calm down, trying to contain myself enough to just watch the sparring match like a normal person. Oswald and Max begin circling each other, gauging for an opening to show itself. But then, I get a good look at Oswald's front side. Is that a treasure trail? As I exhale to alleviate the heat welling up within me, they charge violently at each other. Max doesn't hesitate, going straight for Oswald's muzzle, but the wolf manages to box himself in, making himself harder to hit. This causes Max's strike to miss, allowing Oswald to have a clear shot at Max's side.
Predictable.
Max suddenly pivots when he sees Oswald beginning to wind up to strike. He twists his form and smoothly positions himself behind the wolf. This catches Oswald off guard, making him stumble a bit in the direction opposite of where Max is. He quickly recovers though, stopping himself just by the edge of the ring. But Max was already closing in on Oswald while the wolf attempted to quickly turn to face the tiger. He wasn't able to turn fast enough, as evident by Max quickly striking him straight on the muzzle. This causes the wolf to fall onto the floor.
Make that 4-4.
Max quickly fumes from his nostrils, turning to glance at me before looking back to the recovering Oswald.
That was a nice hit,
Oswald says as he holds the lower part of his jaw, slowly standing back up. As he does this, he quickly gives me a side-eye and sees that I'm being a nervous wreck. He smirks and gives me a quick wink before turning back his attention to the tiger.
Nice hit, Max.
He begins pacing around the ring again, rather playfully this time, but the tiger wasn't having any of it.
What the hell are you doing?
Just taking a little bit of the edge off. Your punch is still giving me the tingles, you know.
Really? Just the tingles?
Is something wrong? Want it to be more than that?
Oh, you little...
Max, now agitated, pounces at Oswald, accompanied by a series of punches in tow. The wolf manages to dodge most of them, while skillfully blocking the rest. The fight plays out as if he was dancing around his infuriated opponent. The tiger's patience shortens by the second, making his attacks less calculated, but instead more wild and unhinged. Oswald takes advantage of Max's rage when it reaches its peak, and suddenly closes in, placing one of his feet in front of Max's, making the tiger trip and falling flat on his face.
5-4. I call that a win.
Oswald offers his paw, but Max just shoves it away. The tiger eventually managed to stand on his own, revealing that his nose is bleeding. Max, your nose.
What is it to you, pup? You know what? You've been getting on my fucking...
Before Max manages to blow up at me, Oswald intervenes.
Better get that checked, Max. You can talk to him later.
Max stutters a bit, rage quickly deflating before defeatedly walking towards the exit, leaving me and Oswald alone in the process.
Huh. Quite the temper, no?
You can say that again. Oswald looks around a bit, notices his shirt crumpled up just behind me. He makes a slight motion to pick it up, but one glance my way and he changes his mind.
So, want to see the shooting range?
I take a quick, discreet glance at his pecs, which are directly in front of my face.
Up to you. That's settled then. Follow me.
Oswald begins pacing in the direction of the shooting range. I'm left to wonder why he left his shirt. Aren't you gonna put that shirt back on?
After it's gotten all drenched with sweat? I don't think so. Too hot for one anyway.
I follow Oswald's lead towards the shooting range. Once there, he fiddles around with a pistol that's already placed on one of the rows. The target in front of him is about a few feet away, but Oswald just loads the magazine into the gun before aiming at what he has his sights on without a hint of hesitation. I take a few side steps around him while steeling myself, fully expecting loud noises to come out of the barrel. Oswald takes a deep breath as he places his finger on the trigger and pulls it without a moment's pause. The shots that come out are surprisingly silent, meaning the barrel has a suppressor. The target, looking rather new, makes the fresh bullet holes stick out even more out on the clean board. Every shot of his is a bullseye, with little to no deviation from each other. Whoa. Oswald breathes out, his tense grip loosening on the gun.
That loosened my muscles up quite nicely. Nothing quite like a good jolt of recoil to set things straight.
He looks at me with a rather expectant expression. I just stand here, completely clueless about what he wants. What is it?
Nothing. Sorry. I'll just keep shooting.
Yeah, sure. Did he just accidentally stare at me? Or is it just my imagination talking? I start getting flustered while the image of him looking at me repeatedly plays in my head. I continue watching him shoot with the utmost accuracy, his arms barely even moving despite taking the brunt of the recoil, his rigid form accentuating just how well built he is. Sweat drips across my head to the sides of my muzzle before I realize that I'm blushing again. I attempt to recompose myself as quickly as I can muster, managing to do so just fast enough for Oswald to finish putting down the pistol. I straighten myself up, letting the heat and tension from my body dissipate, ending with me relaxing my balled-up hands, flailing them as subtly as I can. As I breathe out a silent sigh, though, I hear a silent whoosh pass by. A sharp pain starts to radiate across my body, starting from my outer ear. Oswald's ears certainly picks up as he quickly fixes his gaze behind me.
What the?
I fail to notice the figure quietly emerging from the darkness of a column situated behind me because the pain in my ear has most of my attention. I put my paw on it and reflex only to feel a warm dampness. When I place my paw in front of my eyes, I see that it was stained with thick red liquid. My ear is bleeding?
So, this is the new face you've told me all about, Oz.
Footsteps ring across the, mostly quiet now, training room as a figure slowly becomes illuminated by the light. It was a man, about as tall as Dylan. He looks like a raccoon? The mask-like fur pattern. There's no mistaking it. He has a slightly smoking pistol similar to Oswald's in his hand. Did he just shoot and graze my ear?
Miles, your ear.
Oswald quickly rushes to my side before fixing his gaze on the raccoon that now stands in front of us.
Benji! Yes? You don't need to shout, you know. I'm only 3 feet in front of you. What the fuck is wrong with you? Hey, it's not my fault that you were putting on such a pitiful display for him. The Oz I know can shoot 3 times farther. Clearly you're just showing off.
Oswald seems to be simmering in frustration, but the raccoon apparently named Benji remains unfazed.
And last I checked, those rows were 10 feet.
Showing off wasn't the point of me bringing him here.
Oh, it wasn't. Well, forgive me for not reading the room correctly, Oz. I do bet that our little friend over here would agree that you were, though.
Benji looks at me rather flippantly while fiddling with his pistol.
Well, since you say it wasn't just for show, how about we let him have a go at one of the targets?
Oswald stammers a bit at that, worries written on his face.
But... No, Oswald. I want to see if you've got the same eye for quality as I do.
Benji approaches and just casually hands me the pistol like he didn't just graze my ear.
Now then, would you be ever so kind as to,
Don't even fuck around with him, Benji.
Oswald physically puts some distance between Benji and me.
My, aren't we being a little too defensive? Fine. Just take him to the infirmary, then.
Oswald grips my shoulder tightly before placing me beside him. He looks at my ear, rather perturbed, leading me out of the training room.
Come on, Miles. Let's go get that ear all bandaged up.
Oswald and I make our way towards the infirmary as the wolf wears a rather grim expression while he avoids looking at me. I feel awkward in his half embrace as we continue on our way in silence, feeling his grip loosen bit by bit along the way. He's been defensive and showy around me today. It feels a little territorial now that I think about it. The silence between us continues to gnaw at me as we make the turn in the lounge. Eventually it makes me cave in and I prepare to speak. Just as I am about to say something, though, Oswald suddenly speaks over to me.
Sorry.
His ears droop down as he speaks, his gaze still averted. We take a brief pause at the entrance of the infirmary. What for? Oswald lets out a heavy sigh.
Benji's right. I shouldn't be hesitating to train you.
Train me? For what? Oswald then opens the door and puts up a face for me.
Come on, let's get you fixed up first.
Oswald ushers me in towards the examination chair.
Sit here.
I do as he says and sit myself down while he gathers up some supplies. Silence fills the room once more as Oswald takes the bandage roll and begins dressing the wound on my ear. I'm assaulted by a quick, sharp pain when he tightens the loop.
Ugh. Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
Oswald starts rapping again, more cautiously this time. He's surprisingly gentle and much more dexterous than I anticipated.
The bandages will disinfect the wound. It'll also quicken the healing process.
What of Eden Corp's many contributions to the medical field? Oswald stays silent for a bit. His game seems to falter briefly.
Yes.
I had the impression that Midnight Sun would, boycott anything Eden Corp produces.
We're quite pragmatic. Just because they're made by some evil corporation doesn't mean the actual products are.
I guess that's true. You did have hard light emitters installed at the bar, too. More silence. Oswald finishes up on the bandages. He then takes a step back to examine his handiwork.
There we go. Should be mostly healed by tomorrow.
Thanks. Oswald smiles at me, but it quickly fades away. Something's bothering him, and I'm not one to just ignore that. How do I go about it, though? Maybe some small talk? So, Benji, huh? Oswald gives me a look, probably surprised by my attempt at conversation. He doesn't just fumble around with his answer, though.
What about him?
He just seems kind of difficult to be with.
That's just who he is. He tends to rub people the wrong way. He's a good dude to be around, I swear.
Oswald sighs to himself once again.
He still rubs me the wrong way sometimes, to be completely honest.
The wolf then pouts, sort of like how a kid would. To be honest, it's quite cute. He starts fidgeting with his fingers and his muzzle twitches from time to time. It looks like he wants to say something. I suppose I should meet him halfway. Have you known him for a while?
For quite a bit, yeah. It was actually by chance. I just so happened to be at the place he was robbing that night.
Robbing? He's a thief?
A damn good one at that. Being a raccoon certainly helps in that regard. He has those built-in genetics for stealth.
I caress my bandaged ear a bit. Is being a good shot one of them? Oswald chuckles.
Maybe. But talent can only get you so far.
Suddenly the door to the lab opens. Someone else who I haven't seen before walks out. A Siamese cat.
Oh, hey there, Ellie.
Hello, Oswald. Oswald turns to lean on the examination chair as the cat named Ellie carries a basket filled with canisters with her. When she passes by, a thick scent fills the air, making it hard to breathe.
Jeez, what's in that stuff?
Ellie turns around to us, but her expression is rather meek and reserved.
They're the smoked grenades that
Ellie's eyes widens at the sight of Benji coming into the infirmary.
Speak of the devil.
Hello, Benji. Here are the...
You sure we should be talking?
they're...
I already told you. If you ever needed to drop things like these off, either ask someone or just leave them in front of my room.
Benji speaks in a grim and spiteful tone, all the while refusing to even look at Ellie. Well, you were right there.
Did I stutter? Now get a move on. You're ruining the view.
Ellie does as she's told, going at a pace at a half sprint on her way towards the hallway. Well, that certainly was a mess. What in the world is this guy's problem?
What do you want, Benji?
Two things.
Benji tosses a piece of cloth towards Oswald. It managed to cover his entire face, so Oswald has to pull it off.
Don't worry, that came fresh from the laundry. Your dirty clothes were scattered all over the training room.
Benji then trails his gaze on me.
I also wanted to check on him. I didn't even get his name, all because you had so rudely pulled away.
Oswald sighs at the raccoon's remark. The atmosphere is beginning to feel a little awkward.
His name is Miles.
Couldn't you have told me sooner?
Had you not made his ear bleed, I would have.
I suppose I did do that.
Well, then I wouldn't have been able to gauge out quite a few things. Benji pauses for a moment before making eye contact with me again.
Miles, was it? Can you give Oswald and me some privacy?
What do you even have to say that can't be said in front of Miles?
Stop being so antagonistic. I managed to gather some rather interesting information during my last recon mission. It has the potential to forward our plans faster, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Ah, I see. Miles?
Oswald gives me a gentler nudge. I take this as my cue to skedaddle.
You should be nicer to Ellie, you know.
You wouldn't get it, Oz. I have good reasons.
Our conversation continues until I'm eventually out of earshot. I stand idly by one of the couches in the lounge before I realize that I have nothing else to do. Maybe I could catch up on some sleep. I still kind of feel groggy. Later that night. The faint sound of footsteps echo through the darkness in the abyss of my mind. It reverberates across the imaginary walls of this void I have found myself in. I try my best to ignore it. Slowly it fades from my hearing. As the sound dissipates, a door slowly materializes from the nothingness. A piece of paper containing the words eviction notice plastered in front of it flutters in the wind before being blown away by a sudden gust. I flinch when I realize that the paper was flying towards me. Then a much stronger gust of wind blasts the doors open, the force hitting my face, obscuring my vision. What little I could make out, though, is a pair of red gleaming eyes. It glares menacingly through the doorway, seeming to peer through my soul. I'm eventually pulled back into reality. I'd have half a mind to just ignore whatever that was and go to sleep again, but those footsteps... They had quite an eerie quality to them, so I know for sure that I'm not going to be able to sleep without at least checking on that. I get up and take a few steps out of my room, looking through the doorway across both ends of the hallway. Nothing. Can't believe I'm doing this. It feels a bit childish, kind of like I'm checking for some monsters inside my closet, only it's wandering monster around this rather populated space. Ugh. Why the hell am I like this? I walk around and eventually head to the lounge quietly, surveying my surroundings every so often. As I turn through one of the columns, I hear steady footsteps heading directly towards me. They were quite similar to the footsteps I heard earlier. I quickly turn to look behind me, the sound surely coming from someone close. I can only make out the exit of the base, but I manage to see someone come forward and linger by the entryway. Those piercing red eyes. Benji? What's he doing sneaking out in the middle of the night? He's being quite cautious too, looking behind him regularly and everything. A few moments later, with one quick motion, Benji heads into and disappears to the opposite side into the corridor. I motion to follow him, but before I'm able to do so, a familiar female voice calls out to me. Miles? Uh-huh. I turn around to see Alice look at me with a confused look on her face. Why are you skulking about in the middle of the night? Well, I was, Damn it. Why am I looking like the sneaky one when Benji's the one moving around stealthily? Then again, I could just be overreacting. The others might be already well aware of this. Maybe I should ask and see if the other people know about it before making assumptions? I don't want to bring any unwanted aggression from him towards me, that's for sure. My injured ear serves as a good reminder of that. Miles, you're spacing out. Oh shit. Gotta stop it with that habit of mine. Even Dylan reminds me to have more spatial awareness, and no, I'm not doing it again. Just act normal and focus, okay? Sorry, something caught my attention. What are you doing up so late? Alice raises an eyebrow at me. Me? I should be asking you that. What? You mean you always stay up this late? Yes. Is there a problem with that? Well, I guess not. Right. Can we not dwell on my sleep schedule, please? Besides, you being awake saves me the trouble. Trouble? What trouble? At the moment, I hear footsteps coming from the hallway. They're faint, but they're getting progressively louder. Huh? We're just waiting for someone to get here. From the hallway. Alice gives me a surprised look. Well, yes. How can you tell? I can hear the footsteps. I've got really good hearing. It helps me a lot when I'm mixing and making tracks. Huh. Good to know. Just as Alice finishes speaking, Oswald comes out from the hallway and into the lounge.
All right, Alice, I'm here. What's this all about?
Oswald then notices me, surprise forming on his face.
He got here before me.
Either that, or you didn't notice him pass by.
Oswald only raises a brow at me. I only respond with a shrug. Alice chuckles before redirecting our attention back to her.
Follow me. I have something I want to show the both of you.
We trail behind Alice as she makes her way to her workspace. The tigress then passes the panel to Oswald as soon as she arrives. The wolf grabs and quickly skims through it, with a rather stoic and focused expression on his face.
A charity party?
Yep.
Benji had an inside man open up a lot of options for us. The charity party is going to be held in a place with a data server we can raid. I can get into InCorp's plans through that.
Oswald glances my way and then looks back at Alice. What does he have to do with it?
As much as I hate to admit it, the surveillance systems are too complex for the available tech I have right now. Luckily, Benji's contact has an open slot for someone savvy with sound tech.
Alice points at me, not breaking eye contact with Oswald.
That's where he comes in.
I have to be a DJ.
Pretty much. The only catch is you're also going to serve as living surveillance for Benji and Oswald. Sounds easy, right?
Oswald slowly growls under his breath. Are you sure this is low risk, like we talked about?
Trust me, the only way things can get ugly is if you and Benji get caught. Even then, Miles should be safely evacuated by security. He'll be fine.
Oswald thinks for a moment, exchanging a few concerned glances my way.
On the topic of his safety, though, this should ensure that the two of you can keep tabs on each other.
Alice hands me a familiar box, the same one she showed me during my initiation.
Miles, Oswald, from this moment on, you two will be partners.
Partners? I looked at Oswald for an explanation, but he remains drilled in thought.
You'll be with Benji on this, and we can't fuck this up, so I'm counting on all of you.
Oswald finally seems to finish his contemplation, giving Alice an understanding smile. We won't disappoint.
I know you won't, but get some extra Z's. We only have about a week before this party happens. Better get prepared before then.
We both nod before walking off. As we make our way, I notice Oswald continually smirking to himself. Partners, huh? Haven't had one in a while. Oswald seems to loosen up as he says that, letting out a big yawn while he stretches. You had one before? Yup. It didn't work out, though. Too many complications and all that. I wonder for a moment. Are they still around? You mean alive? Yes. Walking the base? Also yes. Well, that clears up a lot. Well, care to tell me who it was? Oswald suddenly falls silent. Must be a personal thing. Forget I asked. Oswald nods before we stop. It seems like our respective rooms are across from each other. How convenient. Well, I guess it's time to sleep. Yeah. Oswald opens his door and takes a few steps inside before looking back at me. Good night, partner. Oswald smiles at me before closing his door. I smile to myself in response. Good night, Oswald. Alright, I'm gonna stop there. So, we've just met everyone in the base, I think. And, Benji shot my ear off! Kinda pissed about that. We're gonna have to get back at that raccoon. Well, this has been Fritz-Ay Says, and have a nice day. Ciao.